Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Williamson County Sports Connection. I'm Jack Daniels, your host, and with me for today's show is the new head football coach at Brentwood High School, Coach Mike Woodward. Coach, welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Glad to be here.
Well, let's start with you and just talk about you, where you kind of grew up, where you went to high school, and what you've been doing over the last 10 or 15 years.
All right. Well, I was born and raised in Illinois, and grew up in a played football in a small high school with 500 kids in it. Graduated from there, went to University of Evansville, and kept playing football there. Spent a lot of time watching it, but I was playing football there for 4 years, and that's actually where I got my coaching start. Okay. Was a student assistant there while I finished up my school. Went to Austin Peay as a grad assistant for a couple years, and then I came to Williamson County. Was at Centennial for 2 years. Mm-hmm. Went back to Austin Peay as a full-time coach for one, and then, as you know, came back, went to Ravenwood, helped open that school up, and spent 4 years there. Went to Antioch. That was my first head coaching job, and was there for 7 seasons, and now I'm back in Williamson County at Brentwood.
Okay. Well, Coach, if you were there at 4 years at Ravenwood, then you was a part of the state championship team.
Yes, I was.
That was very exciting in, I think, 2005, right?
Yeah, 2005 season. Very exciting. We put in myself, the coaches, the players. I mean, we just, as you know, put a lot of time and effort into that. It was a special group of kids that we had, and it was a great time.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I wanted to wear something Brentwoodish, and this is the only Brentwood coaching shirt that I have left in my repertoire. But this is actually the shirt that we wore in 2001 when we went down to Disney World for the Kickoff Classic down there. We played Cypress Creek out of Orlando in the Kickoff Classic down there.
All right, great.
Plus, it's summertime when we're taping this show, and I just got back from Hawaii, so I figured I'd bring a little color to the show.
It's got a lot of color. It stands out, and just coming from Hawaii, it's a great Hawaii shirt, but I got to get you one where the Brentwood stands out a little bit more.
Yeah, I know the Brentwood Bruins is in here.
We got to get one that stands out a little bit brighter, but it's a great shirt.
Well, Coach, tell us about your assistant coaches. You got all your staff together?
Almost. I've got a couple spots I'm still looking to fill. A lot of the guys that were there, we had 5 guys that stayed through spring practice and took those guys through spring even when there wasn't a head coach yet. And and those guys did a great job. They're all staying. Pat Curran will be our defensive coordinator. He's been there several years, but he's going to stay and run the defense now. Mark Matakavich is going to stay, and he'll be coaching running backs for us.
Okay.
Kevin Slowey's going to be we haven't decided which spot yet, probably outside linebackers, but he'll be staying and coaching there. Gabe Evans is a guy that I've worked with before. He's not in the area now. He's coming up from Chattanooga, but he'll be offensive line coach for us. And then Judd Granzow is going to be our head freshman coach. Tom Crawford is going to be assistant helping out with freshmen.
Oh, good.
And we've got some former Titans. Dave Ball is going to come and work with our defensive line, and Kenny Amato is going to be working with our freshman linebackers.
Well, it sounds like you're getting them together there.
We are getting them together. Like I said, we still got a couple spots, to fill in. But hopefully we get that done by the end of the week, and we'll have all our staff set, and then we come back from dead period, we can hit the ground running. Okay.
Well, you talked about Pat being your defensive coordinator. Who's going to be calling the offensive plays, Coach?
I will be calling the offense.
Okay. Now, I put on the board back here an old play back in 2002. We opened up Ravenwood High School, and I remember those first coaching meetings, and we come in there and we call the Tiger and the Bulldog, the Hercules and the Dolly and all that. So do you use any of that terminology still?
Use a lot of the terminology. They've moved around a little bit, so what Herc meant 8 years ago may be a little bit different as far as what it means now. But we still use the Herc and Dolly, the Tiger and the Bulldog, the fire and the ice. So a lot of the terminology is going to be the same, but may not be exactly the same play as it was 8, 9 years ago. Right.
Now, do you try to no huddle? Do you signal in your plays? I mean, how you give me your philosophy on offense, what you guys are going to be doing?
We're not going to be necessarily a no huddle, fast tempo Oregon type thing. What my philosophy is, I'd like us to be able to have that capability because, of course, at the end of a half or at the end of the game, you need to be able to go no huddle and be effective with it. But we're going to be a lot of one back. We're going to be breaking the huddle and trying to get into a rhythm that way. Have the capabilities of change up, to go some no huddle. It'll be mostly with signals because what we do is very basic. It's not a West Coast style where every play call is going to have 10 or 11 terms to it. It's going to be very short and simple to where all 11 guys should be able to pick up the signals and run the play, and sometimes maybe even call 2 plays, let a defense get lined up, and then just make a signal whether we're running the first one or the second one.
Mm-hmm. So the spread offense,
Spread
shotgun.
Offense, probably not necessarily all gun, maybe a 50-50 under center and gun look. We've got a couple quarterbacks who throw the ball well on the run, so we'll get under center so we can run and then boot off of it. But then we'll also go gun and let him, run zone read and have a dual threat back there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were talking before the show that you kind of been on the defensive side of the ball for the last few years over at Antioch. Mm-hmm. So what's your defensive philosophy going to be kind of now hit the Brentwoods?
Well, when I was at Antioch, we were an even front team. We played around with some, whether it was a field-based or a formation-based defense. Okay. But as I came over here, Brentwood's been very strong defensively for several years. And their system is an odd front, but still with some field tendencies to it. And, Pat has a great grasp of it, so I'm going to let him take it and keep running what he's comfortable with and what they've been doing.
Okay. Now, I know last year when Brentwood was in their preseason and everything, I talked to Coach Perrin, the previous coach, and I can't even remember who their defensive line coach might have been, Coach Crawford. But they said they had like 8 or 9 guys, defensive linemen, that they didn't make any difference which one they had in there. They didn't have any drop-off. Now, I know they had a lot of kids graduate last year. And you got to spend a few days with them in spring practice, I believe.
Yes.
So what did you see? I mean, do you like what you see? What you got coming back?
I mean, I love what I saw. We had a lot of guys who didn't take part either because they were in spring sports or just kind of an anomaly this last year. We had several guys who had surgeries and weren't able to take part in the spring. But the guys we had out there were very quick to pick up the new things we're putting in offensively, very coachable, and give great effort. And that's the important thing. So I'm excited to get us back in pads, and see these other guys that we've gained, since the spring was over. But the guys we had out there, I thought it was a great spring. I had 6 days with them, counting the blue gold game at the end. And I was very happy with what we were able to accomplish during that time. And, and they're doing a great job here the 3 weeks we've been lifting and running. We're getting good attendance. They're giving great effort. So it's just been a great experience.
Well, let's talk about the numbers. What kind of numbers are we looking at then in your varsity program?
We will probably be looking at, I would say, 80 to 85.
Okay. And out of that 85, how many of those are going to be seniors for you? You know
I think we're about 20 seniors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that when I was in Brentwood back in the early 2000s, we got to become a senior football team back then, and that seems like it's the next group's turn. They just kind of step up, and you start graduating 25 to 30 kids every year, and it's kind of that. And I know their numbers have been good. So these 20 seniors or somewhere in that number, have you located any leaders yet for you?
I think we got some great leadership, and we look at our linemen. We've got a core group of guys with Thomas Roberts and Mark Randolph and Cordell. I mean, we've got guys that are there every day working hard, and that the younger guys can look up to and see how things are supposed to run. With our skill guys, Austin Wells has been outstanding. Andy Shumpert. We've got a lot of guys there again that are coming in. It's hard to see the vocal ones yet because we haven't really been on the field a whole lot to see who really stands out, with performance and leadership there. But in terms of just being there every day, working hard and pushing guys, to give their best while they're there, those guys have stood out.
Well, I know the baseball team made it to the state
Yes.
tournament for the first time, and I'm assuming you probably had a few baseball
Yes.
players that. How many kids were participating in baseball?
I think we had 6 guys, maybe 5 or 6 guys that I didn't see it all because of baseball in the spring, and then we had probably about that many again that were on track. The track team had a strong season also, so we had several guys we missed there.
Yeah, any quarterbacks?
Aaron Mayer, yes sir, good-looking kid, and I watched a little bit of film from him. I've seen him, just physically, he's something to look at. I mean, he's an athletic specimen on the baseball field. I went and watched that first game they had. I think they were playing Dobbins-Bennett in the first round over at Siegel. And, he's on first. I watch him steal second. There's a wild pitch. He takes third. And then all of a sudden he's up and he's taking home. Just sheer athletic ability, to get around and make the play. And, I hear he's got a strong arm. He's a big kid. So I'm really looking forward to what he can do, back there. That's that quarterback for us.
So you're talking about zone principles a little bit ago. When we talked about the dolly, more zone block it, inside zone block it.
Right.
So in that type of offense, quarterback's going to have to run the football a little bit.
He's got to be able to run the football. And, and depending on how a defense plays us, there may be some games where he's got 20 carries. There may be other games where he carries at 6. It really depends on, what the defense does and how good he is at making his reads. But there should always, most of our running plays should have 2 guys who even I won't know who's going to carry the ball, depending on what the defense does and making the correct read off of it.
Okay. Well, Coach, I know it's early in the summertime, and you've talked about your attendance of the workouts, and we're getting real close to what TSSAA calls a dead period. What's the kids going to do during that time?
That's a scary time for all coaches. Because that's 2 weeks where you don't get to do anything at all with them. Yeah. So all you can do is to tell them that it is a time off, and it is a time for everybody to get away and kind of get fresh in their mind again before the season really starts. But at the same time, if you take 2 weeks off as a player, then that's really going to put you behind and make things worse when July and August comes around. So you hope they get together, and go to the Y or go somewhere, get some lifting in, do some competitive things where they're running against each other, playing some what I call hard basketball, where not just the stand around and shoot jump shots, but where they're really running full court and playing. But that's all you can do is try to instill in them the importance, to take some time during those 2 weeks and work. And then you may also drop subtle hints about what that first day back, will be like to hopefully give them the incentive to get ready for it.
Well, when you guys come back on July the 8th, you get to put the headgears on.
Yes, we do.
You get to go to 7-on-7 against other competitions.
Sure do.
Do you have anything lined up for those first couple of weeks?
Well, we do. We're going to be going to Middle Tennessee for their 7-on-7 tournament. Ravenwood is hosting a 7-on-7 tournament, so we'll go to that. We're going to get together with FRA one night and just have a 7-on-7 practice where we really get to spend a lot of times with not just our starters or our second string, but everybody from starting varsity through JV to get a lot of practice reps against somebody other than ourselves, and use that time to get the passing game and also the passing defense squared away before you get into full pads and now you really start hitting, the run game.
Let's go back to summer workouts a little bit. What kind of schedule do you have to maintain, like on a Monday through Friday? I mean, what's your schedule like?
We bring them in early in the mornings. We get them out of bed and we start at 6:30, and we go Monday through Thursday. And that way they have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for any of the camps they may go to, or if their families had something planned to go out of town. It still gives them some time to have their own personal time and take care of those other things. But we're going to bring them in for 2 hours in the morning. We're going to work them. And we work them hard and we split it up, between the weight room and taking them outside and running them, and a lot of speed work, a lot of agility work to go with strength training.
When you say you bring them in, you bring them everybody in, the freshmen too, or you
freshmen?
break them?
No, freshmen come in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They go for an hour from 10 to 11. Because they have to have the teaching period, to learn about the weight room and how to lift and the proper techniques. Whereas the guys who have been with us, most of them, a high percentage of them already have that stuff down, and we can really start targeting with them the strength game. So they come in 4 days a week in the morning, and the freshmen come in 3 days.
Do you change the type of workout that you're doing in the summer versus what you would have been doing in the wintertime?
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll go a little bit. In the winter, it's we won't do nearly as much conditioning. When we come back after Christmas break, it's really just hitting the weight room hard. Not so much. A lot of the guys will put on weight. That's not necessarily the ultimate goal, but it is to really hit the strength gain process. And then as we go through the spring, we start adding in the conditioning part, just trying to get to their bodies back into the condition of the running and the change of direction that we'll do for spring practice. And then over the summer, it's really about a constant build-up to try to get them to where they are prepared when we come back after the dead period to run all those routes, to make all those breaks. Because it's one thing to just run sprints and just get on the track and run straight-line sprints. As soon as you start making all those cuts and changing direction and you're working all the different muscles in your lower body, that's where a lot of the soreness comes in. So you have to train them and get them ready for that too.
Well, in the lifting part of it specifically, are you doing maybe heavier weight and lower reps in winter versus what you may be doing in the summer?
Yeah, as part of that strength game, we will do, and it'll based on percentages. In the winter, it's not uncommon for them to be lifting 80, 85, 90, 95% of their max, for 3 reps, 4 reps, or maybe 2 reps as we build up. In the summer, we'll still have them do, early on, we'll have them do some high percentage stuff, but again, to get the legs ready, we'll start dropping the percentage and we'll start increasing the reps. And I think our skill guys today, as a matter of fact, I think we had them doing squats, with sets of 12, and our linemen will do 8 or 10 reps, again, just trying to get them conditioned for, what's going to happen on the field and all the multiple reps time and time again that they have to be ready to go.
Okay. Well, Coach, let me kind of just find out from you as a head football coach, what do you feel like your responsibility is kind of outside the rim of the X and O part, that it's your, I don't know if it's your responsibility or not, but how do you feel about your obligation, I guess, to help the kids go play beyond high school?
Well, I feel like my number one job is to help the kids, number one, more so than X's or O's or anything else. My job as a coach is to help the kids and help them prepare for what life is going to be after high school. For some of them, that's going to be going to college. For some of them, it may be going to military. For some of them, it may just be going out and joining the workforce. But you hope you've got a kid who has high character, is accountable, is responsible for his actions, and someone who's ready to go out and be productive and help the community out when he leaves. As far as scholarships in particular, it's my job to do everything I can to get word out about the players, to send out highlights to as many college coaches as I can. And, nowadays with film, it's so much easier, even when it was just when I was at Ravenwood, 8 years ago.
I haven't had Huddle, but I've been hearing you guys talk about Huddle. That would have saved me a bunch of hours.
No longer sitting there with the blank VHS tape and the original and trying to cut and all that stuff and get all that in there. No, now we can just go online and we can highlight a play as we're watching it, and it automatically puts it into a player's file. And then you can go through and you can get online and find coaches' email addresses, and you can ship it out to them. And I've literally had times where I've sat in my recliner and have sent film out to 80 schools, at once on one player. So it makes it, it still is time consuming, but not nearly as bad, as it used to.
Right.
So, that's part of it. But another part of it is that gets overlooked a lot is making sure that academically, that they're going to be eligible, not just to get into a school, but there's a core GPA that's different from their overall GPA. You got to make sure they have a certain level there. You got to match that with their ACT score, and then there's different levels, whether it's Division 1A or what is it now, FBS.
Yes. I'm still not used to that. FCS.
I call it Division 1, 1AA, and 2.
That's why I am too, Coach.
But you got all three of those levels, so you got to, and then NAIA. So you've got to look at their academic eligibility for all those levels, and then of course you got the junior college route if they don't meet the eligibility for one of those four. So, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Right. As far as I guess as a head football coach, and we can only do so much, but what you're talking about, I feel like that is our responsibility.
Sure.
It's part of what our job entails.
Sure.
Is to help our kids, if they want to go and play. And you and I know that majority of the kids are not going to go on and play.
Right.
But they are a few, and Brentwood has had a few of those kids. I know you haven't got a good look, but I think there's a few that's on this year's team that's probably got a possibility of going on and playing.
I think so. And some of the guys I've seen personally, some of them I haven't seen yet, but I see them get letters every day in my mailbox, and I'm putting in their lockers. Aaron, I haven't had a chance to see yet because of baseball.
Right.
But he's getting a lot of interest, and just watching what I saw him do on film last year, I can see why. As excited as I get about what he may be able to do at quarterback, he's a heck of a safety also. So he's got a chance to do something there if he decides to go football instead of baseball.
Right.
His cousin Jack Mayer, I didn't see in the spring because he had shoulder surgery, but he's getting a lot of looks as a tight end. And again, going off the few times, I know that they didn't throw the ball much last year, but they threw it enough that I could see him get the ball in his hands and see that he's a big guy who moves pretty well and can do some things there. And then Shump, he's a 6'3" receiver who catches everything coming at him, So, he's definitely got a chance, to go somewhere. And then we've got a lineman, Paul Hunt, who missed almost the entire year last year. He tore his ACL early in the first game. But again, he's a good-looking kid, and he's getting interest, from a lot of places. So, and you never know. Somebody may sneak up who maybe, you're not thinking about right now. But, there's almost always one guy who just comes out of nowhere one year and has a great year for you.
What's your philosophy about captains? Do you do a week-to-week appoint captains, or do you let the team vote on a captain at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year? How do you go about doing captains?
Actually kind of a mixture of what you just said. I would like to have at least 2, if not 3 guys that just stand out, and they're going to be our captains all year long. Okay. And you would hope, as a coach, that through the summer, through the off season, when you have an entire off season with the guys, you would hope you have at least 3 guys, who stand out as, the epitome of what you would want, out of your football player, not just in how they do on the field, but how they conduct themselves in the classroom, in the community, and how they react with their teammates. But I like to keep one spot open to where, we can just recognize a guy for his efforts during the week. And it may be somebody who does a great job on special teams on Friday the week before. It may be a guy on scout team who comes and works hard and gives you everything he's got every single day. Doesn't even see the field, on Friday night. But he's giving you all this effort and doing all these great things for you, and you want to recognize him and let him walk out there one time. So I'd like to keep one spot open for cases like that, and hopefully, like I said, you've got 2 or 3 that stand out as great leaders. And it doesn't have to be seniors. I've had a sophomore be a captain before. So, we try not to make it just seniors, even though usually they do have the better grasp as far as the leadership part goes.
Do you let the team vote on that, or is it the coaches?
I've done it both ways. And to be honest, it kind of depends on the team. When you coach long enough, sometimes you've got teams that consist of players that you trust, and you leave it up to them. You take their vote, and sometimes, you're not quite sure that you want to give them that responsibility. And then as coaches, you sit down and talk about who you want to be your captain.
Right. Well, you talked about Aaron playing baseball. How do you feel about your football players playing other sports?
Oh, I love it. I was a two-sport guy. I played football and I ran track. And, to me, it's all about just competing. If you're a 2-sport guy or a 3-sport guy, you could wrestle, you can play basketball, you can play baseball, and lacrosse is big here in Williamson County. You may be playing lacrosse, But if you're out there competing and representing the school, that's great. There's things you can do to still get your weights in, and do all the other stuff. And if you're working hard and competing, your conditioning level is going to stay up. So I'm all for that. I think that's great.
Coach, you know what you're going to be teaching this year at Brentwood High School?
I'll be teaching weight training.
Okay, so you'll be in the same role that Coach Crawford and Coach Pemberton had been in the ISS room versus in weight room, switching off with Coach Sigenthaler.
Right.
Students doing that. Well, good. The aspect, I guess, of the Williamson County community, Coach, there's a lot of private schools around us.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. I got to watch my words now, Jack, but go ahead.
But what do you feel like your obligation, I guess, is to recruit your own kids? That's kind of the terminology I've used.
Right.
When I came to this county 16 years ago. How do you feel what you're going to have to do to?
Well, I want to promote the program. I think we've got something special at Brentwood High School. I think when you look at the tradition, over several years, probably going back 20, I think it's 16 years in a row that, Brentwood's made the playoffs. So I think we have a great product there, not just with football, but with academics, with other sports programs. I think it's a great place to be. And what I want to do is I want to make sure I get word out to the parents, to the middle school kids that this is a great place. And whatever you want to do, wherever you want to go after high school, Brentwood High School can get you there. Whatever you want to do athletically, we have strong athletic programs that can help get you there. So it's just about getting the word out and getting people excited about what they have right there in their backyard and let them know, they don't have to pay to go to this private school. They don't have to go down the road, or travel to get to this other private school. They can come right to the school that's in their community, stay with the same group of kids that they've been with through elementary and middle school, and have a great time at Brentwood, be very successful, and use that as the springboard to go on afterwards.
Now, as we're doing the taping of this show, you presently have a youth football camp going on, right?
Yeah, today was our last day, actually. We did it Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday with the little kids coming out, and it was great. Our coaches, of course, all stayed and worked it, but a lot of our players, also stayed and worked with those young guys because, we're big on getting our players to give back to the community also, and I know the kids that were there for the camp, enjoyed working with our players, but our players also really enjoyed it. They had a lot of fun taking them through the bag drills, taking them through the ladder, helping them set up, passing drills, showing them how to throw the football, catch the football, playing a little touch football at the end of the day. Our kids had a lot of fun with it too.
Well, what do you feel like, this is probably more of an interview type question. What do you feel the importance is to the football program in relationship to the school? How important is the football program to the school?
I think the football is great for the school. It just gets the school year going.
Okay.
It raises school spirit, brings attention to the school, and I think when you have a strong football team, all it does is bring positive feedback and positive feelings back about the school. There's, to me, and I know I'm biased, but to me, there's nothing better than coming out on that first Friday night or that second Friday night of the school year, having a home football game, getting the stands packed, have a pep rally at the end of the school day, make it a big event, and just make the kids excited about, being at Brentwood. And hey, this is part of it, getting to come to the games and be a part of that exciting environment.
Mm-hmm. You talked about that first football game, Coach. Who is your first football game?
Our first game will be at CPA for our first one.
All right, so you are attacking one of your local private.
Yeah, we are. We're kind of going at it right there.
Yeah. That's one. I know they're in a smaller classification, but they are very good football team.
Don't let the smaller classification fool you.
And
they've had a couple guys, I believe, already commit to SEC schools. I mean, so they're very talented, and Coach Martin does an outstanding job over there.
Yeah, he does.
And they've got it rolling. So that's going to be a very tough game to start the year off.
And I know the schedule that you have is not one you got to make.
No.
The previous coach had already made out that schedule.
He gave us a tough one. We have CPA.
Kind of go through your lineup.
Well, and then our next
outside
game,
your district.
Right. Our next game after CPA, our home opener is against Blackman.
Okay.
And that's actually going to be the Thursday night game. That's going to be the Thursday Night Lights game.
Okay.
And then we will go to Oakland. And I know I'm leaving somebody out. Who else? Oh, Hendersonville.
Okay.
Yeah, Hendersonville is our other those are our 4 non-district games. So you can see, those are all strong, year in and year out, very strong programs.
It is. And if you don't come in the top 2 in your district, then the overall record comes into play.
Right.
On whether or not you're going to make it into the playoffs.
Right. So if we make it in the playoffs, we're definitely going to earn our way. We won't be, just slipping in.
Right.
We will earn.
Now, TWSAA just this week Board of Control has said that you can put shoulder pads on July 22nd.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I think first of all, that's so much better as far as helping the kids get acclimated, because the previous rule was you just have them in helmets all the way up until you went to full pads. But that's such a big shock to the system to be helmets and shirts, helmets and shirts, helmets and shirts, and all of a sudden, bam, you're in full gear and you're tackling and you're hitting and you're going for 2 days, and you're out there all that time. That's a big adjustment. I think now being able to have the guys in shoulder pads and kind of ease them into it, so they'll be in helmets for a couple weeks. Now you can put the shoulder pads on them, and now you can go full pads. I just think that'll really help ease them into it and help take care of maybe some of the health issues that have come up in the past.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach Woodward, Mike, it's good to see you again. It's good to have you back in Williamson County, and I appreciate you being on our show today.
Well, thanks for having me, Jack. It's great to be back.
Thank you for joining us. This concludes our segment of Williamson County Sports Connection. I'm Jack Daniels, your host.